Ladies and gentlemen, it is a victorious Monday here on Believing Saints. He is Terrence Copper. I am David Grubb, and welcome. TC Saints snapped a two-game losing streak. They come out and get it wasn't perfect. You ain't go. This ain't the one you send home to mom and put in the scrapbook. But a win is a win in the NFL, and the Saints got a very important win on Sunday.
Oh yeah, they did. And it was almost like a heavyweight boxing match because we made plays, the Rams made plays. We got stops, the Rams got stops, but we kept fighting. One thing that we did, and even though it wasn't a perfect game, but we could honestly play that way every week. And the two categories that I like is the fact we only had two penalties
And one
for
was
15
late,
yards.
late in the game.
Yes, for 15 yards total, and we had zero turnovers. When you play that type of football, and the way we played with the play action game, we made plays. A receiver Olave was amazing. So when you play like that and you don't beat yourself, we could really play like that every weekend, and we could be a lot better than what we are. So I can't complain too much about what happened. I mean, of course, it wasn't a perfect game, but we got the victory. That's all that matters.
Well, let's talk about because some of the things that we talked about last week that we wanted to see did happen. Number one, we wanted to see more touches for Taysom Hill. Taysom
Yes.
was a much bigger part of the game plan this week. What I find funny is like the commentators reacting like there was some type of inspired genius to do this, but this is what they should have been doing all season long. I mean, he got 9 carries. He led the team in rushing with 52 yards, got some big runs at times. 52 on 9 is anybody will give up for that average. He
Yep.
threw it 3 times, so at least you gave him the option that you made him a viable threat to throw the ball when you put the ball in his hands in those situations. He caught one pass. So all in all, for Taysom to get 13 plays where he was in control of where the ball was going and what was going to happen with it, that's almost double from a week ago. And for a team that did not rush the ball particularly well, Saints finished with 88 yards. Taysom's 52 meant a lot.
It did. And then you throw in not just Taysom Hill. I think they put their three best players at the top with Olave, which
Mm-hmm.
he's been getting his all year anyway. And then, like you said, giving the ball to Taysom Hill more. And then even with Alvin, the fact that he was getting the ball out of the backfield,
Which we
we throwing
talked
little
about
quick,
too.
yep, throwing little quick screens out there to him, throwing them passes from out of the slot. So it was a lot of different things that we did with those three guys that allowed us to play the way we played offensively. But like we talk about, we can do that every week. Every week. That wasn't anything that felt like we just schemed. Of course, we schemed them, but it wasn't anything with a bunch of trick plays that it might not work next week. But these
The,
things could happen every week.
the one trick play that they did try, the flea flicker, didn't work.
Yeah.
Ended up with a sack on that one. And then, and again, Andy missed a couple throws. There was the one he had a wheel route to Kamara, and Kamara was wide open, and Andy took a sack on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, there are things to fix. The offensive line wasn't great. It gave up 4 sacks, but you had a lot of backups. So did the Rams. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to use injuries because we're at the stage of the season at week 11. Everybody's missing somebody important, and the Rams were certainly
Right.
missing. We're not going to lie and say that the Rams. I mean, they had the backup to the backup playing left tackle. So, like they had their issues too. They had people missing on the defensive side of the ball. Of course, you're missing your top 2 receivers out there. You lose Matthew Stafford in the third quarter. So things could have been different because the Rams were making big chunk plays too. They had 4 more plays of 20 plus yards and a big 62-yard touchdown. So they had some big running plays, which was a surprise. We didn't think the Rams they ran it really well. Over 150 yards rushing for them on the game. So the Saints still have things to work on. But like you said, for the first time in about a month since the Raiders game, they didn't beat themselves. And it's one thing, they got outgained. They didn't work great on third down, but they got off the field when they needed to defensively, and they didn't make penalties, and they didn't turn the ball over. And if you can do those things, yeah. I mean, like you said, it wasn't about running the ball 40 times, but you stuck with the run enough that the play action made sense. You still didn't get your plays. The Saints ended up with 52 plays, not a lot again, but they turned those plays into points at the very least. You got points, and you were able to make some big plays. And like you said, with Chris Olave now, I think still leading the NFL in air yards per catch, total air yards. I mean, if you give that man any time, and if when he gets his compliments back, you saw how important it was having Jarvis Landry back again and him making some key catches, even though it weren't big yards. His catches were important catches in the game. And I just think that, Olave, better than I. The sky seems like the limit for that young man.
Definitely. And like I said, when you have Landry back, I think the role that he's in, the catches he was making, I think that is his career now. I think at the stage he's at in his career, he's not that explosive receiver that we used to have, but he's a great possession receiver that's coming in the building that's going to complement Olave. So Landry, I think the way he's playing now, the way he's played this game just past, I think that is more of the role that he's fitting into now because he's not in his prime anymore. He's still a good receiver, but I think he's more of a possession receiver, and you need those type of receivers. You need those guys that can go across the middle, make those tough catches in the end zone, even the tight end. I think we did a great job with scheming how we had our tight end schemed up.
Juwan had some big plays.
Some big plays, even in the end zone. Even the big catch in the end zone with what's the DB name? The best DB there.
Oh, Jalen Ramsey.
Ramsey. Even with Ramsey on his back, but he's still a bigger body that you can post him up and put him on your back and still make that big time catch. So
and you saw his agility too. That being a former receiver, he made plays on the barrier and was able to turn up field on that one where they missed the tackle on him, and he turns it into a bigger gain because he has that agility that most tight ends don't have.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna be fine, man. But now what I want to see now, let's follow it up. Let's put together another game like that, or let's put together another win. Let's try to get another win and see how because we got to start stringing some wins together. Even when you look at the division, our division opponents, you have the Buccaneers is at the top. Then you got Atlanta that we're one game behind Atlanta. But if it's a tie, we win that tiebreaker if we beat them again. So we're really chasing the Bucks. I think the Bucks had a bye week, if I'm not mistaken.
Bucks are off this week.
The Bucks are off this week. But we're 2 games behind the Bucks, and we got to play them again.
Yeah.
So we still control our own destiny, but we got to win. We got to string together some wins, especially the fact that we got to play our division opponents again.
Yeah, and the Saints have not won back-to-back games all season. It's been win, 3-game losing streak, win, back-to-back losses, win, back-to-back losses. And now you get the win, and like you said, you need to follow it up. Before we move on to following that up, because you have San Francisco coming next, be at San Francisco next Sunday. Niners playing tonight on Monday Night Football, so they get a short week, and they're playing a division game, which means that they're going to sell out. As a team, you got to get a division win on the road. If you're San Francisco, you're trying to stay alive and eliminate the Rams. Now that the Rams lose yesterday, you got a chance to start putting nails in that coffin if you're San Francisco. And you need to do that. Because you got to catch Seattle. Everybody's trying to catch Seattle over there, but you got to end this thing with these Rams now before they do get healthy and maybe string some games together. So San Francisco is going to be going all out tonight. Arizona's going to be going all out tonight to win that game. And I think that certainly will impact their freshness and their viability for Sunday. That's just the way the NFL is. Guys are not going to be as ready to go. So hopefully the Saints can capitalize on that. But going back to it, the things that necessarily defensively that you could do well against the Rams are not going to be the things that you get away with against San Francisco. 2 very different styles of defense, I would say. But offensively, for Andy, it's very simple. As long as Andy Dalton is a starter, he has to make high completion percentage passes. And if you can get him those play actions, like you said, you've got to utilize some type of ability to stretch the defense and put the top back so that you can run the ball somewhat effectively, because I think you're going to have to get more than Taysom against San Francisco because they are so physical at the point of attack.
They definitely are. And we have to score offensively. Like it can't be to the point to where we go quarters without scoring because San Francisco offense is explosive, especially when you got two of the top three utility guys in the NFL. When I say the top three, one of them being Taysom Hill, that's with the Saints, but they have the other two, which Debo Samuels, and then you have Christian McCaffrey
And then you
out there
got
as well.
George Kittle on top of that, who might be
Yes.
the best blocking receiving combo tight end in the NFL.
Yes, so that team is going to give our defense some problems. I don't care. We can scheme the best defensive schemes we want to scheme. I think we will have our defensive scheme ready for this team, but you're not going to hold this team without scoring. I just don't see it because they're so explosive offensively, and the fact they got new weapons that came in. So we got to score offensively. But the game plan that we had this week is a great game plan. Of course, you got to tweak some things and change some things up, but the way we play action and the way we use Taysom, the way we use Kamara, and Olave, I feel like we can do that every single week. But we got to execute. We cannot have a bunch of penalties. We can't beat ourselves, and we cannot turn the ball over. I think if we do those things, we can beat this team, no matter how good San Francisco is, because we still have the talent to beat these teams. It's not like we don't have the talent.
Right. And I think the main thing, too, is you were able to pull this off without Cam Jordan, who probably is going to be questionable throughout this week as well because it's an eye injury. And that's always difficult to be putting out people with their vision compromised. I think he broke the orbital bone around his eye. So that's tough. I've had friends who've done that, and that's tough to recover from quickly. That's a lot of pressure. But I thought the secondary overall, they had a couple miscommunications there, but I thought overall they played pretty well. I think Tyron has played better over the past couple weeks. Still not at Pro Bowl level, but you could see it's coming together for him. I think he's tackled better as the season has gone on. So there has been some improvement by the defense. But they've got to be physical because the one thing the 49ers are going to try to do, they love to run the football. And so we saw the Rams get physical and Cam Akers get some big runs and even backups able to get 5-10 yards at a pop. I think that's, again, going to be the key is how can the Saints back up offensive line and how do they respond if Andrews Pete isn't good to go again, if Eric McCoy isn't good to go again. And then defensive line, Carl Granderson, can you have two good games in a row? You lost Peyton Turner, it looks like, again with injury. So the defensive line is still going to be undermanned, most likely. How are they going to generate? Caden Ellis, I thought, stepped up yesterday and played really well in that role. So the backups, it's going to be on them again to come through. And it's always harder for second and third string guys to perform when they go on the road.
Yeah. My question is, and it's kind of the elephant in the room, do you think that Winston will have another opportunity to play the quarterback position in New Orleans without an injury to Dalton? What do you think about that? Because me just reading certain things,
it feels like he's not.
I don't think he is.
The only way, maybe, and this is, you don't wish this on the team, is if they come out and because you got San Francisco, then you're at Tampa, and then you're at home for Atlanta. If they go 1-2 or 0-3 during that stretch, the season's over. Because you can't win the division then. It's over. Right. Right. So I think if that's the case, if the season is effectively over, then what are you doing starting Andy at that point? Because at least then, again, the thing for me business-wise is always Jameis is still somewhat of an asset. He is a young quarterback in the NFL with a lot of arm talent. And we know that reclamation projects, people are Geno Smith, who does not have the arm talent that Jameis Winston has. It took him a while to find his spot. But you see now that man is in MVP conversations.
He is.
And I guarantee you look around this league right now, and there are a lot of teams that are looking for a quarterback. A lot of teams that look, Taylor Heineke in Washington, that's not their long-term solution at quarterback. You know what I'm saying? They don't have a long-term solution in Indianapolis. They messed up with Matt Ryan. It didn't work for them there. So Detroit's still looking for a quarterback. There's a lot of towns right now that Denver might be trying to figure out what to do with Russ again. But they stuck with him with that money. But I mean, you know what I mean? Like there's going to be Atlanta could be looking for another quarterback. You don't know. They might not be in love with Marcus Mariota. And Jameis is a Southern boy. So you might see Jameis, Carolina. You don't know. I mean, there's so many places that are viable options for him.
Are we looking for a quarterback?
The Saints have to be. Because you're not bringing Andy Dalton back. And Taysom is not going to be your starter, not for the long term. And you don't have a first-round draft pick. So at the very least, you have to sign a veteran. So why wouldn't you at least want to know what Jameis is if you do have to come back to him and say because you cannot keep burning a bridge with this man. He's done everything on his end to be the good soldier. He took less money, stayed, did all those things, never complained, was a good soldier as you're supposed to be. Well, I think there should be some reciprocation of that. If the season's over and the competitive part is done, I think that's where that's one of the times where front office should step in with the coaching staff and say, we have to make an evaluation too. Look, your job is not going to be impacted by this, because I think the decision shouldn't be impacted by it, because if the evaluation is we're going to keep Dennis for another year, that decision's made regardless of who the quarterback is.
Yeah.
So to me, that's one of the places where front office should say, I want to find out what the value of this guy really is. And we have not gotten the opportunity to get the value for that we've put into him back. And I think I'd want to find out. You put it all up for rehab. You did surgeries. You did all these things with him. You've had him into practice. And you look at his overall record, and it's not bad. So with the Saints, so then why wouldn't I want to see if he's healthy and his team has shown that Olave is better, if the line is better, if Penning is back by that time, why wouldn't you give him a shot?
Yeah, because one thing that I wouldn't want to see happen is if he's our franchise quarterback moving forward, you don't want to make that guy unhappy. And I'm not saying you got to kiss his butt and do everything, but the situation he's in right now can potentially make him unhappy in New Orleans and want to leave. But we don't have anybody else in the covering to kind of step in if he does get upset and now he wants to get traded. So I feel like right now I'm not saying we got to make him happy, but we need to see if he is the guy that we thought he was. Kind of just like you said.
Because what's out there? That's my thing, is people always want to replace. Okay, but what's out there that's better than Jameis Winston right now for you as a Saints fan? Who's better? Does bringing back Andy Dalton as a starter next year make you feel more confident? I don't think it does, because he's not been able to keep a job 2 years since he left Cincinnati. So if he was that much in demand in these places, he'd be in Chicago still, or he'd be in Dallas still, but he's not. And so the part of his career where he's supposed to be starting games is over. Like he's in the role he's supposed to be in at this stage. So to me, Jameis still has starter potential. Is can you harness it? And if you can't, at the very least, he presents a higher ceiling as a backup than anybody else that you have on the roster. And I mean, I don't want them to move Taysom at all, because like you said, as a football player, Taysom's value is too high. Yeah. Like people talk about his contract. If you use him properly, it's not a bad deal.
No, it's not a bad deal. That's an awesome contract for him to have.
If you let him play.
Exactly. Because he does so much. He's so versatile. We talk about it all the time. And he's my guy. I keep telling him, I'm a Taysom Hill guy. But his contract is what it should be. I think he deserves what he's getting paid because he can do everything you need him to do. So, like I said, but I don't want to see Taysom Hill starting at quarterback. I feel like he's so versatile. I think quarterback position is a position that he can potentially play or get some snaps at, but I don't want to see him the permanent starter at quarterback, because then that's going to limit what he really can do.
And it's so hard. I think the thing that people always forgot about Taysom is the NFL, any quarterback, especially a quarterback, reps are so important. And to try to become a starter in the NFL at age 31 when you've never started before, and you didn't get, and it wasn't like he was in another league, like where guys like, what am I thinking about? Kurt Warner. or a guy
Mhm.
like that where you were in another league and you were still getting reps as a starting quarterback, throwing passes in game situations. Taysom never got that. So his in-game growth it's the leap is so hard to make when you haven't had those reps. Yeah, so he has to be kind of a situational thing. And I think that's always going to be the difference between me and him and say a Cordell Stewart is because Cordell was always a quarterback. Like he was always intending to be a quarterback in the NFL. They just had to use him in other roles. Taysom
Mhm.
found his way in the NFL by not playing quarterback and then trying to
Mhm.
get back to it. So but yeah, any week where he's getting less than 10 touches is a crime.
Yeah.
That's
And I think it's showing. It's showing the fact when you get this guy touches, when you get Alvin touches, we win games. We win games. But like I said, what we did this weekend, it's not like we was reinventing the wheel. This is something we can do week in, week out. But I think the most pivotal things that we didn't do, we didn't turn the ball over and we didn't have a ton of penalties. Third down, we can get better on third down. I think the more we get better on third down, the more plays, more drives we can extend, our play count will go up. We'll have more than 50 some plays. We'll get back to the average or above average when it comes to play counts. And then that'll also keep our defense off the field more if we can convert more on third down. So, but the way we play, man, we can play like this every single game. Of course, we got to get better. But if we don't turn it over and we don't kill ourselves with penalties, I feel like we are a hard team to beat.
yeah, and it's going to be about consistency these next few weeks. Can you give that same effort, that same level of production, and that same level of execution? Because, like you said, it's the NFL for everybody right now. The margin of error, even for the very good teams, and we saw some upsets yesterday across the league. You see teams that were bad getting hot. My hometown Detroit Lions have won 3 in a row all of a sudden, and they win in double-digit games and stuff. That don't happen normally. And we've had it's just been a strange NFL season, so you don't really know at any moment when you can go on a win streak. And the Saints they need it now. Like I said, the next 3 games, this is the season. This is the season here. You got to beat San Francisco. You've got to beat Tampa Bay. You got to beat Atlanta. And so if you can put together a 4-game win streak right here and extend this, you're right back there. You are there with going into the final 3 weeks of the season with a chance to win the division championship.
Definitely. And one thing we have to do is just like take it one game at a time. This next game, take it one game at a time. I wouldn't even look. You can't even look that far down the road right now. You
Nope.
got to take it. Yeah.
Not when you ain't
You
won
got
back to back all year.
exactly. So we got to take it one game at a time. But I think we take it one game at a time and we don't beat ourselves with penalties and turnovers. I really want to see what we can do.
And
I
just
really want to see.
again, Chris Olave, man, the Saints and their ability, like the one thing they have been able to do, they find, and it's been consistent, since Joe Horn came to New Orleans in that trade. The Saints have been able to consistently develop guys who are young who can become number one receivers. The 2s and the 3s haven't always been consistent, the 4s, but that
Mm-hmm.
number one and Chris Olave now, he came in the season and he was 4th or 5th on the depth chart. Remember, we've talked about the start of the season. Where was
Yep.
he? When was he going to get on the top 3 in the depth chart? You
Mm-hmm.
can't get him out there now. And with Michael Thomas being uncertain, and that's what you have to basically say at this stage of his career is that it's uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Olave could be next year the Saints' number one receiver.
Oh, I think hands down he'll be the number one receiver. After showing what he's doing this year as a rookie, he's only going to get better with experience. He's already playing like an experienced receiver, and he's just a rookie. Each year he's going to get more experience. Each year he's going to learn the playbook more. Each year he's going to learn what defense are trying to do to him more. So I think even if Thomas comes back, I think you move Olave into that number one role, and you move Thomas to the number 2 role, regardless if he comes back or not. I think Olave he's outplayed um, Thomas, and not saying he's outplayed Thomas because Thomas has been on the field, but you can't help the club if you're in the tub. If you're
Right.
hurt, you can't help the team. So but if you got another guy that's stepping up and he's outplaying you because you're not playing, guess what? You still gotta respect the fact Olave is putting up numbers, and Olave is the most consistent player we have on this team.
It's on the offensive side, that's no question. But yeah, but it was good. It was good to see the defense actually do some things yesterday, and they no special teams mistakes. Blake Gillikin punted the ball well,
Yeah,
no shanks. Will Lutz
yeah.
made all his kicks. It's like I said, they none of the little things that had come to bite them in the behind all season long came and got them yesterday, and that's a sign of that you were doing the right thing. Luck favors the prepared, and
hmm
so it looks like they had a good week of practice and knew the assignment.
And you got to take that off to the coaches, because guess what? When things are going bad and we feel like it's the coaches that it's their fault, we call them out. But at the same time, when we feel like we went into with a great game plan, great offensive calls, some good defensive calls, special teams wise is on board, all those things, and we're correcting the things that we've been messing up on a lot, that goes off to the coaches as well. So the coaches got to get those props also. So when they're doing bad, we're gonna say something. But when they do something great, like they did this week, a great game plan, great job, coaches.
But please, Pete, Dennis, please keep getting them touches to Taysom and Alvin. Keep
Yes.
keep getting out. There was a close up. Alvin Kamara got one play out of the backfield. I don't know if you saw that. He caught a reception, got the first down, and when he turns around, it's that big Alvin Kamara, golden diamond smile. And I think it's simple, man. Guys want touches. Let me do what I do. If you know what I'm saying, like ain't nothing simpler than going. This is what you saw on the playground when you were 9 years old. The fastest dude, man, get him the ball. Get him the ball. Right. Whatever we got to do, we know we got the fastest dude in the block. Get him the ball. And Alvin Kamara felt that yesterday a couple times. His smile, he doesn't fake smile. That ain't a dude that comes. If he's pissed, he's pissed. But when he was getting them touches, he was like, finally, yes, this is what I want. Throw me the ball in space. Don't have these dudes right next to me when I get it every time. Let me do something with it. So, yeah, please just stick with that. Please stick with it. But, yeah, we'll be back later this week, and we'll get you ready for the 49ers because we're going to see how they do on Monday Night Football, what kind of injuries we'll have to report later in this week, who's healthy, who's not. But this is it. This is really this game. They always say the next game is the most important game, but there are none now. Going into week 12 now. Week 12, there ain't much time left. They still got a bye to come. They ain't even got the
Gosh, they ain't got a bye yet. That's crazy.
But yeah, this is critical, and we'll be here with it for y'all. TC, you got any final words before we get out of here, man?
Man, go Saints, man. Just keep stringing them together. That's it.
Let's see if we can get 2 in a row. Until the next time, this has been Believe in Saints. He's Terrence Copper. I'm David Grubb, and this has been brought to you by BetOnline.ag. We'll talk to you soon, and who dat?